Fly me to the moon and let me play among the stars. Hello, everybody. I believe I'm live. Slightly different angle. I'm trying to deal with all the light streaming in from the windows, so I went for this. I got, Data's back there behind me. I don't know, I might move him, but you can see a little bit more of the din from this angle. More of the junk that fills my room. But on the other hand, it kind of makes me happy, so that's okay. And see, look at me. I started to look over to where my camera used to be, to look into the camera instead of just looking up into the camera. Take a little getting used to. Anyhow, welcome everybody to Dad's Den on this, beautiful Sunday here in Las Vegas. It is, it's getting warm. We had a couple days that were just really super nice. Now we're starting to head into the hotter stuff, and it's going to be blazing hot probably for the next, 5 months. It's a long summer. That's the thing with Vegas. I know for people who live like in the North, Minnesota stuff, it sounds fantastic, and they probably can't get enough of it, but I've had enough of it. Honestly. And hello to Ramey Butler, the first one in today. Homesick, watching me. Hopefully I won't make him any sicker. And Lady Wendelin, of course, is there as well. Hopefully we'll have a few more people roll through. We got kind of a chill little show today. Not a ton to talk about. Just a few bits and pieces. I managed to buy, despite their best efforts, a McFarlane DC action figure this week. They had the new wave of, they had a couple new waves. They had the new, hey, Man of War, what's cooking, man? Oh, War. They had a new Superpowers wave, exclusive at Entertainment Earth, but you got to buy the whole wave. I'm like, are they going to do some individuals? Because I sort of wanted to get the Power Girl figure because I've kind of put together a bunch of the Justice League International figures, characters that were in that. But I don't really need the whole thing. There's maybe one or two others I wouldn't hate having, but I don't really need them. So I passed on that. I'm hoping they're gonna put them out as individuals, and then they put out the Super Friends thing, and I did actually manage to get it, get the Wonder Woman figure that I wanted to out of that group. They're kind of finally starting to produce some of those characters here towards the end of their run. They got the collector's license for another 7 months. So I think they're trying to get a few things out, but there's at least 2 or 3 of their figures that I would have bought. And I couldn't because it was exclusive or it was on GameStop, but the link didn't work. And then 2 days later, the link worked. But by the time I found out about it, it was sold out. And it's like, for God's sakes, man, dude, just sell the damn figures. Why does this have to be so difficult? Why is it that every freaking link you have to a GameStop figure is broken? It doesn't work. Do you test them at all? What is going on? So I got to be honest, I'm kind of I'm okay with Mattel taking over. Maybe they'll be more competent. We'll chat about that in a little bit. But at any rate, Man of War's here, so he's bringing trouble with him. You gotta watch out. Gotta watch out for that guy. So, what's a couple things in the news? Well, Obsession is in the news. When this thing came out, I was seeing tons of posts about it on Twitter, and you're going, wow. I mean, people seem to be obsessed with Obsession. I haven't seen it. I'm probably not going to. I'm not really super into modern horror. My daughter's planning to go. She's kind of excited about it. But what's cool is $750,000 budget on this thing. It is past $100 million box office already. It's gaining, from what I believe, it's gaining in terms of of revenue week to week. So the word of mouth is really strong on this one. There's another one out called Back Rooms that I think is doing pretty well. We had one a few months ago from another YouTuber, horror movie. So low budget horror from YouTubers seems to be a thing. And why is it a thing? Well, if you're a YouTuber who has a pretty good following, you've got to be tuned in to some degree to stuff people like. In other words, there's an element of you're giving the people what they want. And it turns out when you give people what they want in a movie, people go and they watch your movie. I know it's throwing the Hollywood studios. Now, the thing is, it's not even necessarily calculated, although that can be calculated. The people they're hiring to do a lot of the big budget films are giving the people what they as a director want. Now, I think that's what these YouTube guys are too. Just the YouTube guys are more aligned with what people actually want than the people they're giving the big budget assignments to. So it's doing well, and I think we'll probably see a lot more of this kind of thing, which means, of course, Hollywood will probably find a way to A, do it to death, and B, ruin it along the way with bigger budgets and with more divisive figures who are probably not going to produce popular work. But in the meantime, for horror fans, there's some really good stuff out there. And I mean, the Sam Raimi movie, you wouldn't necessarily call that like kind of from an indie filmmaker. Although, I mean, Raimi has sort of, indie blood. But we're seeing a lot of these things, and they're doing well. And of course, the other big thing was this past the Mandalorian Grogu movie. After a week where that kind of had its opening release bump, and I believe it's down into like third place now, behind movies that cost $750,000 to make. So I was thinking today, there's that line in one of the old Star Wars movies. I can't remember. I think it was maybe the first one. Maybe the first one with Vader. I think he was talking to Obi-Wan, now your failure is complete. And I thought that line really sums up Disney Star Wars at this point. They can't beat these movies, but they're not producing what the public, what the audience really wants, or they haven't. And now people aren't even willing to go try out their films. It's crazy. And I guess they're also losing IMAX screens to Masters of the Universe and Michael, which is another one that's not brand new, but it's still doing pretty well. So I think it's tough because the turn from Hollywood should have happened probably 3 years ago. The writing was kind of on the wall by then. Surprised we haven't seen more of it until now. So I would like to say, well, they're definitely going to change their ways now. There's a whole lot of filmmakers who are not going to be getting films. They're going to have to go back to doing their low budget indie stuff. They tried, it failed. But some of these studios seem pretty intent. So I don't know, man, if they're going to figure stuff out or not. All right, let's see what we're saying in the chat here. There's a few things. Comments now. Raimi, did GameStop buy eBay? No, eBay actually said no, and your offer was insulting. So unless that was a negotiating tactic, I don't know that that's happening at all. At all. Manowar says, a lot of humbug on my end this weekend, most of it no bueno. Sorry to hear that, man. Unfortunately, I have to catch this one on the replay. That's cool. We'll be here. So we'll see you later, Manowar. Yeah, sorry stuff ain't going well. God bless. Hopefully it gets better. Raimi Butler, Iron Lung, not watching it either for theological reasons. Showdown in Secret City is releasing soon, made by Vinny from Atari Network. Okay. Might be something to check out. Vinny has made a couple of films. It's a good time to let the younger people get in and see what they can do. But again, they keep going for people who are primarily ideological. And I think the thing is, regardless of what your politics are, It doesn't really matter. If you're very political, the things you do are probably only going to appeal to 10 to 25% of the movie-going public. Because there's a big chunk of the movie-going public that just is not interested in politics at all. And of the ones who are, your particular brand of politics maybe is going to appeal to a third of them. And if you're very political or more on the extreme end, which if you're very political, you probably are more on the extreme end. You don't find a lot of massively political moderates out there. Well, now you're probably not even going to be capturing all of your potential ideological audience. So when you aim for these people, you're aiming for a smaller audience. And if you want to make a small movie with a small budget that has a political kind of message or sociological message or whatever, go ahead. But like, you better keep the budget small because you're aiming at a smaller audience. And if you're aiming at an audience that just wants to be scared, something creepy, something maybe gory, bloody, whatever, there's a much bigger audience for that, you know. And again, man, the older filmmakers would still throw in a little bit of the political edge to things, but they were better at it, keeping it more subtle, not super important. It was the kind of stuff where if you didn't agree with it, you kind of roll your eyes like, oh, okay, we get it. But then the movie would move on and it didn't focus on it, didn't lecture on it and all that other kind of stuff. That's what they need to be doing. And it was absolutely what they needed to be doing with superhero movies, right? Superheroes are pretty straightforward. And there was a time where I wouldn't have even said they were conservative, right? Fighting crime was not necessarily a conservative thing. We had a bout in the 70s with soft on crime. But now you have it even like more so that it's become like the idea of stopping someone from robbing or killing and putting them in jail is like, whoa, that's radical. What are you talking about? I mean, obviously from a small segment of the population, but a big segment of the elite population, finger quotes, because they're not elite. They're not wise. They're not smart. They're not good. They're not nothing. They're dregs of humanity, but they're on top of society at the moment. And they have this weird thing about let's make crime legal. Kind of like the Penguin did in an old Batman episode. You know, when your politics mirror the plot of the Penguin in a 1960-something Batman episode, your politics might be a little screwed up. But at any rate, so there you go. Yeah, like Magnum PI, I don't talk. Yeah, he doesn't want to lose half his. That was Michael Jordan said that too. You know, everybody buys sneakers. It doesn't mean you can't have it. Because look, when it comes right down to it, the only thing that matters is the votes. Assuming there's not major voter fraud, but really the votes are all that matter. So Michael Jordan has one vote to cast. Same as me, same as everybody else. One vote. That's it. Can he sway people to his side? Yeah, he could sway some votes to his side, probably. But in all honesty, probably not tons. So I don't even know that these people are doing their political movements a lot of good with this kind of really, blunt activism, right? Share how you feel about an issue, fine. But, I don't know that they're really helping their own movements that much. And they're certainly hurting their ability, to sell themselves as actors and to make movies and everything else. I don't think there's a lot of point to it, honestly. But again, make documentaries, make movies that mean something to you, but those are kind of dramas. It could be a comedy too, it could be a satire, but they don't require $250 million budgets. So when you're taking a movie with that kind of budget, that should be fantasy, sci-fi, whatever, because that's what typically has those budgets. You can make action movies for a hell of a lot less than that, and they have. But if you're doing that kind of budget, it really should be aiming very much at a mainstream audience, which means the story should be about, it should be about fighting crime or stopping an alien invasion and blah, 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 blah. I don't know, man. They'll figure it out eventually, because eventually they're out of business. They're gone. They cease to have jobs. It's as simple as that. At some point, they cease to have jobs. They have to. It's just the way of things. When you push the value of a company or whatever low enough, either the people who you're cheating out of income are going to respond. So the major stockholders, or it gets sold off to somebody who wants to do something better with it. Because once the value's low enough, the soulless corporations and the private equity might not be involved at this point. They don't see a cash cow, which they always kill every friggin' time, because they destroy the thing that made it valuable in the first place, by being just focused on the money instead of the product. But that's when you get the smaller dude who comes in, who, cares about the thing, or dudette, and makes something better, So we're getting in that vicinity at this point, everybody, George Lucas should rebuy Star Wars. And it's like, George Lucas could, I suppose. He might have the money at this point. I don't think he wants to make Star Wars movies anymore. In fact, I'm not so sure he wanted to make Star Wars movies after the first 3 Star Wars movies. He's always seemed to have like a weird kind of, it's where I made all my money. But see, the problem for George Lucas was he's a lefty too, and a lot of lefty friends in directors and stuff, and they hated Star Wars because people saw Star Wars and said, "Oh, it's about America versus the Soviet Union. The rebels are America. The Imperials are like the Soviets," and of course, the lefties hated that. And Lucas, I don't know if he really saw it the other way around or if he said he did because he wanted to get on their good graces, but he's like, no, it's the other way around. The Empire's America. It's like, yeah, sure they are. That's why they all have English accents. But I always wondered if, because he kept trying to do other things that didn't often hit. And I always wondered if he was tiny bit resentful of Star Wars, and so he made the prequels more political and, in my opinion, kind of clumsily so. And anyways, I don't know. I don't know if he even cares anymore at this point about Star Wars. Oh, and that does actually, man, I forgot to add this to my list. Damn it. I'm an idiot, but I will bring it up now. Rest in peace to Marsha Lucas, who I've seen the thing about how she saved Star Wars. Because obviously when he did his first cut and showed it to some friends, they were like, "This is terrible, dude." And I saw a whole video showing here's what his cut would have kind of looked like. And it was terrible. And she came in and changed it all. I've since heard other people say, "Oh, that's overstated, blah, blah, blah." I don't know the truth of the matter. She did an excellent job editing that film. I do know that. And she just passed away. So Godspeed to Marsha Lucas. She did something fantastic. I mean, that movie's so big a part of my childhood, and the happiness that I had as a kid. And I mean, look, if it wasn't there, it would have been something else. I know it would. It's not like, at least maybe it would, but that's what I had. And I loved it. I really loved it as a kid. And, after a lot of the other nonsense, a few years back, I was going through cleaning up, etc., and found the original trilogy videotapes, and I popped them onto the where am I pointing? The TV back there, and just the first one, Star Wars, threw it in. I think I was maybe even like cleaning the room or whatever, and I sat and watched it. Like, this is the original cut. Nope, none of the changes Lucas made to it. And I was like, you know what? This is a great friggin' movie. And it was nice. It kind of, it helped rekindle my love of Star Wars. And then, of course, I watched Empire, watched Return of the Jedi. I'm like, I do love these movies, And I said, you know what? You got to turn off all the other stuff. Don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. These are great movies. You loved them. You loved your Star Wars figures and all that stuff. You can see in the background there. I got one of the snow speeders hanging from the ceiling. You love this stuff, and it doesn't matter that somebody else has put out something called Star Wars that you didn't like. It just doesn't matter. So if you've been kind of burned out, that's the suggestion I would make is seek out the stuff that you originally loved and watch it kind of with new eyes. Just watch it. Just watch the movie. Don't worry about all the other stuff and all the arguments and all the, just watch them, and you might find that yeah, I really do love these things. I really do love these things. And stop worrying about the other crap. It just doesn't matter. And somebody else maybe loves it. That's fine too. It doesn't really matter. Just love the stuff you love. Connect with it. It's worthwhile. All right. So I made a discovery this week. I've been watching Batman Brave and the Bold. Love that cartoon. Been rewatching it. It is on Tubi at the moment. I get to the episode they did called The Joker, the Vile and the Villainous. That was kind of their twist. So this one is the Joker is the sort of main character in it. And I really like the voice actor they have doing the Joker in it. He works. It's not Mark Hamill. He works. I like him. First, it was weird because I'd heard Mark Hamill do the voice for so long. And then I heard this voice. I'm like, I'm like, right, I really like it. So it's him, and they team him up with a Golden Age villain called the Weeper. Obviously, Weeper Joker. Okay. This is not a well-known villain. He comes from the Bullet Man comics that Fawcett put out in the 1940s. So I was just digging around looking at some of that, like which issue was he in, blah, blah, blah. And I was doing it on Grok. Grok, which issues were the Weeper in, and blah, blah, blah. And it gave me little synopses. And it mentions Bullet Dog. And I'm like, there was a Bullet Dog? Now, I know a little bit about Bullet Man and Bullet Girl. And I've been working on a thing on Golden Age superheroines, so I've read up a little bit on Bullet Girl. I had not come across Bullet Dog. That was something new to me. So I'm like, okay. So let me read up. I found the comic. You could find it on Comic Book Plus. And I read through it, and I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. Now, I know, of course, about Crypto. I know about Ace the Bad Hound. So I'm like, well, are there some other Golden Age super dogs of which I'm unaware? So I did a little bit of searching with Grok. And in fact, there are a couple other super dogs. I came up with 5 from the Golden Age. Now, Bullet Dog is one of the first. Now, Bullet Dog, they gave an anti-gravity collar to. I don't know if they injected him with the serum that those two, because those two have a serum that makes them, super strong and other things like that. I don't know if they injected him with the serum, but he does have the collar, so he can fly alongside Bullet Man and Bullet Girl. And I want to say he only showed up maybe once or twice. So it was not a character that got a lot of use back in the day. The Bullet Man comics are fun, good art. And you got to respect Bullet Girl's short shorts because, you didn't have a lot of short shorts back in the 1940s. So she was a fashion icon at the time, obviously. So the other ones, so that was in 1942. Bullet Man number 10, 1942. 1943. Star Spangled Comics number 29 from February. Oh, I'm sorry, not 43, 44. February 1944. Robot Man made his own dog sidekick, Robbie. The robot was a robot dog. Robbie the robot dog. Yeah, Robbie the robot dog. I did find a picture. Now, initially, he did look just like a robot. But eventually, he gave him a more dog-like body with fur and the whole 9 yards. Apparently, he was kind of a wisecracking dog. Super smart as well. And I've been wanting to read the old Golden Age Robot Man comics. Now I really want to read the old Robot Man comics because that's friggin' awesome. So anyway, so that was the second one, was Robbie the Robot Dog with Robot Man. That is a series I just got to get into. I'm planning on it at some point. The Golden Age Green Lantern had Streak the Wonder Dog. Now, Streak did not have any superpowers. He was just a loyal mutt maybe not a mutt, who was fighting crime with the Green Lantern. He just had a lot of moxie, this guy. He shows up in Green Lantern number 30 from February of 1948, created by Robert Kanigher and Alex Toth. So that's pretty good pedigree for him. Oh, I should also mention Robbie the Robot Dog, created by Jimmy Thompson. Okay. So Kanigher and Toth create Streak, the Wonder Dog for Green Lantern. And then the other two, which I've already mentioned, at the very tail end of the Golden Age, in 1955, we get in Adventure Comics number 210, we get Crypto the Superdog first appearing, who actually kind of a lot more like the movie version they just had. He was kind of nuts. And that's why Superboy had to kind of get rid of him. They end up bringing him back and making him, you know, more kind of like human level intelligence, and therefore kind of an aid to Superman, well, Superboy, and then maybe Superman later. But he was actually a little bit wild when he first showed up because he was just a dog. So he just did dog stuff for the most part. So he shows up in March of 55, created by Otto Binder, art by Kurt Swan and Cy Berry. And then just a little bit later in June of 55, and these might be cover dates rather than publishing dates, but we get Ace the Bat Hound finally. Batman number 92, Bill Finger, Sheldon Moldoff are behind him. And, you know, he actually shows up sort of just clearly intended to be like a one shot. But then he starts showing up more and more and more later. And eventually they drop the character, although, God, I guess, look, if you're trying to be more realistic, you know, maybe it's like, boy, I think they'd figure out that, you know, Bruce Wayne, Dick Grayson, their German Shepherd, and then Batman, Robin, and Ace the Bat Hound. Maybe it's too obvious. You know, reality versus fantasy in comic books, right? But I think he's actually kind of makes sense as a sidekick for Batman. The idea, there are police dogs. You use them for things. Their ability to track and things like that. I think he actually kind of makes sense as a character. And I know he's come back at different points. And of course, there was the Crypto cartoon, you know, which had Ace in it and some of the other super animals as well. So there you go. Let's see. Raimi says a couple things. Let's see. I want Lucas to buy the Flash Gordon property and him and Spielberg make the Flash Gordon movie they wanted to. That would be kind of cool. I mean, again, if they could really make the movie they wanted to make and not, you know, current day the hell out of it, that'd be kind of cool. Yeah. Bullet Man is a cool character. He is. And I did a thing a ways back about different Bullet Men, like toys of history, because there was the one 12-inch G.I. Joe, was it like the Adventure Team? They had Bullet Man. There was the Bullet Head dude from The Tick. And then I had just gotten this action figure sort of based on the old G.I. Joe character from White Elephant Toys. And that's why I kind of did it. But it was interesting, though, that there was like a Bullet Man character would show up. It was like once every 20 years in something. It was like this weird rhythm of Bullet Man or people with bullet heads showing up in pop culture in America. But, which, if you think about American pop culture, it seems like we should have a lot more of them. But at any rate, he is a cool character, though. And it's another one I'm going to I think I'm going to do like a Bullet Man year one here pretty soon. I'm going to start hitting a lot more Golden Age characters, non-DC, non-Marvel with that. My initial plan was to do like a DC, then a Marvel, then a non-DC Marvel, and then DC Marvel, non-DC Marvel. But sometimes getting a hold of being able to read the actual stories from DC and Marvel are a little trickier. And there's more of the Golden Age stuff out there. And because I've been reading up on more stuff for that video on Golden Age heroines, I've been doing a video, I'm prepping it now, almost done, for Archie clones. I've just been reading more Golden Age stuff, and I'm like going, there's so much good material, man. I need to check more of this stuff out. Once was cool. Hey, man, hello, just lurking and listening while I do some chores. Hey, man, welcome to the chat. Glad to have you here. So at any rate, that is the super dogs that I found of the Golden Age. I don't know if I'm going to pursue this any further do a long video. But it was kind of fun because, first it's the Bullet Dog, and I'm like going, and I'm not like super knowledgeable about Bullet Man or anything like that, but never heard of him. And then it's like, wait, hold on, Robot Man had one, Green Lantern? So, I did a little bit. I wish I'd found more. And of course, stuff comes up later as well. I just kind of focused on the Golden Age for that one. But there you go. There's my little weird comic book discovery I made this week. Let's look at some new acquisitions in the den. Didn't do a comic book shop run this week, but I did score some old Bronze Age books. Well, I guess I did actually do a comic shop run on Monday, but I didn't do one for the new comics. I scored some Bronze Age books on eBay. They're reader quality books. They're not super, but it was a really good price. And I went for it. And the main reason was some Batman Brave and the Bold, which I do collect and I do love. We got Batman with Mr. Miracle. You two are the world's greatest escape artists, but even you, but not even you can escape my island of doom, a burning death capped by a mile-high tombstone. These are the kind of covers I love. I love covers that sell books, that sell what's inside, especially when it's like you see, Captain America dead, and you're going, okay, well, Captain America's not dying in this one. So what does it mean? What's the trick? So we also got Batman with the Phantom Stranger. What does that say? A choice of dooms. Oh, there's a dude with a little like voodoo doll. A Phantom Stranger. Uh-oh. All right. Very cool. We got Batman and the Demon. Oh, I love the Demon. One of Kirby's great creations. It's amazing how much of is that like, it can almost be Clayface they're going up against. It's amazing how Kirby's creations, short time that he was with DC, after he left Marvel, how much of that stuff dominates DC to this day. And it didn't do super well at the time. The New Gods stuff didn't do well. New Gods, I think, only ran for like 12 issues, something like that. And every time there's major pop culture stuff to this day, it's Darkseid, it's the New Gods, it's other stuff that he created. The Superman animated series had a ton of Jack Kirby in it. But Jack Kirby did more world building for Metropolis in a few years than maybe people had done for about 30 years. Metropolis was just sort of a city. Metropolis didn't quite get what Gotham got, because there was world building there from the very start, just about. The character of the city. It's not the Gothic, kind of crime wasteland that you get later on, but it definitely had some character. Street level heroes, they're out there fighting crime. It makes kind of sense. Metropolis didn't necessarily get that as much, but you get a lot more with Kirby, and a lot of that stuff came in. I scored a Black Goliath issue. What are we talking about? This it was number 3. Yeah, number 3. Black Goliath number 3. Is he fighting Doc? No, almost looked like Doc Samson, but he's called Vulcan. I can't wait to read that. And I'll skip ahead a little bit. The local comic shop last Monday had a thing my wife kind of discovered, because she's got like she's signed up for the membership thing at the place. I never do. They had a $25 voucher. I was like, hold on a second. $25 voucher. And there was a comic that I particularly wanted that was $25. So we said, let's go down. But we grabbed a few other things too. And one of them that I did grab was a copy of Black Goliath number 1. So it was kind of cool to get the issue 3 as well, just in that little bunch that I grabbed. We got 100-page Batman number 259 as well. Got the Shadow up there. Good stuff. One of them big dudes. Oh, I love this stuff. Cannot wait to read these. So this is these were generally repeats, or reprints, I should say. Oh yeah, the strange costumes of the Batman. which another one was continuity. Look at that. See, I'm having to hold it now in front of my face because my angle's different than it used to be. Saturday morning with the Harlem Globetrotters. In fact, if you could just make it out behind me, there is a Globetrotters pennant that I got when I was a little kid and went and saw the Globetrotters play. We got a DC Comics Presents, again with Mr. Miracle, this time with Superman. There were a couple Firestorm issues, which is cool because I've been grabbing those lately. I guess actually 3 of them. The amazing thing, too, is there were no duplicates for stuff I already had. And because of the detective stuff that was, or the Brave and the Bold stuff, I'm just buying it. I don't really care. I'm not going to even pay that much attention. No dupes. No dupes. We got another Firestorm. Quite a few Firestorms as well. Getting into that character. I kind of dig him. Raimi Butler, didn't they kill him in the Civil? Yeah, I mean, they did later, but I'm talking like in the 70s, and such. They generally didn't actually kill the characters. Almost every cover, it looked like, Captain America was definitely going to die this time. Somehow he would survive. We got an old Flash, and this one's pretty rough. But look at that friggin' cover art. Isn't that amazing? It's probably Infantino, right? No, it might not be Infantino on the cover, though. We got Kid Flash as well. What is this? 2 of 4. So this is from... You got to erase it. March of 1971. I wasn't even born yet, but just look at the work on her. These guys could draw normal people in normal clothes so beautifully. Got a Commandi, and I've been grabbing a few of these. They got a bunch of these for like $2 at the shop I go to. So I've been picking them up. I got a Wonder Woman with 20 cents tattooed to her thigh. She was into the tattoo thing before it was cool. But I've been wanting to pick up more old Wonder Womans, and they don't have any at the local comic shop that I go to. We got the Shazam miniseries, a couple of those, which I'm not as into. I like old Captain Marvel more than the DC versions that they've done. But what the heck? Not bad. And I picked up 3 of the 4, so I can round that one up pretty darn easily. And then I was really kind of excited about these. And then, was this the limited? I don't think this was a limited series. I can't remember now. But Ragman. I've been wanting to read the Ragman issues for a while here. And you got like the Joe Kubert art on it. So those I was really excited about getting as well. Tatterdemalion of Justice. Look at that stuff. These covers sold books. Man, they sold books, and that was the point of the things. And I know they get made fun of now, but now you get like, your covers tend to be like basically pin-up pictures, which are fine. I mean, the artistry is beautiful on a lot of these things. I've even recently... There's 2 or 3 that I picked up, because the cover art really was beautiful. And then I kind of flipped through it and I'm like, yeah, it doesn't look interesting. So I didn't buy them. I did not buy them. Okay, so like I said, I did go grab a couple things at the local comic shop because of that voucher. The one that I really wanted, that happened to be marked for $25, was the Cat #1. Let's see if I can do this without the heavy reflection, because I haven't taken it out of the Mylar yet. But this is essentially the origin of the character that will, there we go, that's actually works pretty good. The character that would become Tigra. Yes, Patsy Walker would later have the costume as Hellcat, but this was Tigra. Well, Greer Grant, I believe. So I've been eyeing this one, and I'm like, we were both looking at it like, are they literally just kind of giving us $25? I kept going, well, does it count for everything? Like, is it only on new comics? Or did it really mean $25 off? That seems really generous. But it was, and it was only for Memorial Day and the day before Memorial Day. So there you go. got real lucky on that. A couple other books I picked up. Now, these were off of eBay. I should look at the chat, though, for a moment. Once is Cool says, if it's a choice of Dooms, I'll take a small... yeah, exactly. Just a small little Doom will be fine. Firestorm was cool in the 80s. He was, yeah. And I remember seeing him in the Super Friends. That's the first place I ever saw him as a kid. And I thought he was cool. It was the ability to turn things into other things. If you're a kid, it's like, you look at that from a comic book perspective and you go, well, that could be a superpower that gets massively abused. Really abused. As a kid, you're just like, oh, that's cool. I could turn everything into, Yeah, one of those great. Raimi says, I'm not a fan of the New Gods or the Eternals. Yeah, okay, I get you. I like the New Gods, but the thing with the New Gods was they didn't necessarily fit well into the DC universe. Jack Kirby was doing his own unit. The New Gods almost should have been their own separate series, not entwined with Superman, with Jimmy Olsen, with all that stuff. That's kind of what he was doing. And it was rocky, but in the long run, I think they come up with some pretty cool stuff with them. And I do like them for the most part. I mean, come on, they gave us Big Barda, Come on, guys, we can at least all, enjoy Big Barda. Raimi Butler also says, I love the fact the character was a romance book character. Wait, which one was a romance book character? Are you talking about, was it Ragman? I know it wasn't Black Goliath, but was it Ragman who was a romance book character? I have to look that up. That's interesting. That is interesting. I guess I don't know enough about him. Have you read any of the Patsy Walker books? I have. I've read some of the old ones because I've been putting this video together on Archie clones or competitors. So I have read a little bit of Golden Age Patsy Walker. Now, of course, back then, all those kind of stories are pretty much the same. So they aren't real heavy on lore, but I have read a little bit of Patsy Walker now. I've read some of the stuff when she was Hellcat, the Defenders, because I'm a big fan of the Defenders. I've read some of those things. Oh, that's what you're talking about, is Patsy Walker was the romance book. Okay, it just came together. Yeah, and she was romance and teen humor. It was a little bit of both. Yeah, and when you look at the characters they tried to gin up to compete with Archie, which did extremely well in the 40s and 50s and into the 60s, and then kind of fell off. There were a lot of competitors that did not stick. In fact, there were even some that Archie did that did not stick. The ones that seemed to do best were from Timely Comics, i.e. Marvel. And it was really Millie the Model and Patsy Walker. A lot of spinoffs. They had long runs. They did very, very, very well for themselves. And interestingly enough, and this is one that threw me, I'd look at some of the Millie the Model stuff and I'd be like, oh, wow, they really aped the look of Archie. Like, that's the Archie house style. They really did that. I didn't realize. No, it's kind of the other way around. Dan DiCarlo was there at the kind of beginning for Millie the Model. He moved over to Archie and took his style with him. So the Millie the Model stuff is sort of where that Dan DiCarlo look started, and then went over to Archie and became their house style that they've preserved even to this day somewhat. I mean, Dan Parent kind of draws even in that style. Interesting stuff, yeah. And I'll tell you something. I showed a couple of them on my Twitter account, and maybe I'll do some of those for one of these live streams. But they had a character, again, this is Golden Age Heroines, Miss America, who was a teenager who gets superpowers and fights crime. And she's tough. I mean, she's like up there with power-wise level, kind of up there with Mary Marvel, Captain Marvel, Superman, Supergirl. She's the stuff. The art in the Miss America magazine is incredible. There are some splash pages that just blew my freaking mind. Now, the Miss America magazine was like full-size magazine size, right? And you got a Miss America comic, maybe one or two. Patsy Walker shows up in there. That's where she starts. But then you got articles that were just like for teenage girls, about fashion or about this or about whatever. It was like a teenage girl magazine with some superhero comics in it. Now, I think after 4 issues, I think it stays Miss America, but the Miss America comics were gone at that point because the superhero thing wasn't doing it. And Patsy Walker becomes much more important in the thing, but pretty cool. You even got like a cosplay cover of a girl dressed up as Miss America, the character. But some of the friggin' art is fan-freaking-tastic. Fan-freaking-tastic. Oh, it's like if Jughead became Batman. Yeah, and Raimi says Millie is in the Marvel continuity. She is, and obviously Patsy is too. But what they did, I've found, is they had a lot of characters. They did a lot of teen humor, and only a couple hit. And Millie's not really teen humor exactly, but it's kind of close. It's the same kind of situations, that she's going through with a rival, with Chili Storm, I think is her rival, like Veronica was Betty's rival. But they did cross over all their teen humor characters. Just not as successfully as Archie did with Riverdale, but they did. So they're all sort of part of continuity. Now, I guess with Patsy Walker, they sort of changed it a little bit and said that the Patsy Walker character from the old comics was based upon the Patsy Walker who becomes Hellcat. So she was a teenage girl. Her mom wrote the comics and based the character on her, but none of that stuff really actually necessarily happened. The real Patsy Walker does end up becoming Hellcat and eventually marrying the son of Satan, which is really the best part of it all, is that cute Patsy Walker from the teenage character kind of like goes on to marry the son of Satan. I don't think her creators probably foresaw that coming. Yeah, Millie might have dated Tony Stark. Millie does show up in a Dazzler comic that I have. Dazzler goes out to LA and gets some work, maybe, for Millie's agency. At that point, she owns her own agency. Millie the Model, man, Stan Lee wrote a ton of Millie the Model. And it was apparently one of his favorite characters to ever write because he liked writing humor stuff. Yeah, I intended to do like a quick recap of some of the Archie clones, probably on a live stream. That was going to be it. Because I thought it was interesting that a lot of these characters from other companies, they use the same trade dress on the covers, including like Angel and the Ape, which isn't exactly teen humor, but it's like if you did a humor book, it needed to look like an Archie book to have a shot at being bought because Archie still dominated. And I thought that's kind of interesting. So I started doing the deep dive, and before you knew it, holy crap, like I got a whole video. It's going to probably be one of my longest videos. I'm going through the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and into the 80s with what was going on with Archie and how it's created. The whole teenager concept is basically what Archie rides the wave of as teenagers become like a distinct demographic in pop culture. Kind of started really in the 20s, but it really caught on in the 40s, tying that into in attendance to high schools, which didn't used to necessarily be a thing people went to. It wasn't mandatory once upon a time. But as the country got more prosperous, more and more kids were going to high school. And that's sort of where the whole teenage subculture starts to be born. And it finds its expression in books and in comics, right? And then kind of going all the way through that to where it collapses and what it ended up being a lot more research than I planned to do on it. I was just going to show some covers and say, isn't it interesting? It's going to be a big one, but it's a really interesting kind of story. And I'm putting it together and I'm about 75% of the way done. I still got some prep to do and maybe a little more research on a few things. And then I'm going to get that out. So maybe in 3 or 4 weeks, I should have that. And it kind of moved ahead of the Golden Age heroines just because I started getting into the research on it. And then that'll come out at some point too, which will be a fun one. And it's kind of long too. Any rate, speaking of the Golden Age, another thing I picked up, and it was pretty cheap and it's not in great shape, but I'd always kind of wanted one. So I said, what the heck? I grabbed a Golden Age Daredevil. Now this one in particular does not actually have the Golden Age Daredevil in it. It's sort of some boy heroes, kind of like the Newsboy Legion. I have not cracked it open and looked at it yet. But I did look at some scans online on Comic Book Plus. And dude, Charles Biro art is flippin' gorgeous. Amazing stuff. And these are apparently tend to not be that expensive. There are some at the local comic shop that I go to. And I'm seriously not going to start looking at maybe picking up one, every 2 or 3 times that I go, just every once in a while, grabbing another Daredevil. Amazing stuff. I've gotten so much more into Golden Age comic books over the last month, doing a lot of this research and finding stuff out. And the other one I picked up, and this is something I had owned, and I thought I still owned, but since I do want to do a whole series on She-Hulk at some point, I did grab the graphic novel because it popped up again at a good price. I lurk on eBay looking for good prices. And so She-Hulk, this kind of really starts the whole John Byrne sensational She-Hulk era. I mean, in fact, it is called the Sensational She-Hulk. That's kind of where this starts. So that's the transfer from Savage to Sensational. She was also in a Marvel 2-in-1 that kind of goes a little bit of the way to the flirtier, sexier version of She-Hulk, as she's kind of hitting on the Thing and getting involved in some antics. But there's still also a little bit more of the, She-Hulk's a little bit rogue. She doesn't necessarily follow the rules. She kind of does what she wants. That's the idea of the character, that the gamma ray thing brought out the inner rage of Bruce Banner. But what it did with Jennifer Walters is kind of make her less inhibited, and more flirty and sexy and all that kind of stuff. Although initially it was a lot of rage. So I think they decided later on, it's like, what's the point of just having another angry green person running around the Marvel Universe? Can we do something more interesting with the character and play off the fact that, she's really tall and green and hot? But at any rate, so those are the comic book pickups that I managed to get. Let's look at some new releases, some coming attractions popping around. I don't have a whole ton of them this week. John Bua, John's Long Box on X and on Twitter, on YouTube, new crowdfund up for his Heroic Tales series, which I have enjoyed. And it was a series I was like, I don't know, man, because he's a dude who loves comic books, but I don't know if he's a dude who can write comic books. So, he writes some pretty good books. This one is his Christmas special. So it's 2 stories. One of them is the Patriarch, who's an interesting character, kind of a Superman kind of character, different origin of powers, though, actually different powers that he uses. And he's got a big family and everything. And he's a fun character and an interesting character. And I'm looking forward to seeing more of him. This is going to be him sort of, saving Christmas, teaching the meaning of Christmas. I like that kind of stuff in comic books. I like the fantasy element. And the other story involves a character of his called King Fu. Basically, a kung fu guy who is also an Elvis impersonator. You gotta love it. And this is going to be him going into Laos to save somebody behind enemy lines, I believe during the Vietnam War, although I could be wrong on that. I don't know if it's set back then or if it's more modern. But at any rate, interesting stuff. Oh, okay. King Fu is just, you gotta love it, right? I would definitely like to see more of King Fu. He did show up in another book with the character Mary Sue, which I thought was a pretty interesting character. John does some neat stuff. Now, this is on fundmycomic.com. $10. I haven't technically backed it yet. I got it sitting open on my computer. I need to go through and do all that, which actually I can do quickly on Fund My Comic because I think they store the credit card number, so I don't have to look it up and type it all in. At any rate, check that one out, folks. The Heroic Tales Christmas special coming out. He's trying to time it for December, so we'll see if he manages to get it out in December. Mattel's new DC line has debuted today, about an hour ago. Yeah, I already looked at one of the figures, and it is sold out pre-order. But these are 6.5-inch figures, so 1/11 scale, because why would you want them to match Marvel Legends that are 6 inches exactly? That'd just be silly. I don't know what these people think, but I don't know that they do think. This line is taking over from Spin Master. So these are the toys that are designed as toys for kids, mass produced. So I looked on Target at the Flash figure. I thought, man, maybe I'll get it and try it out. It's like $13. So good price point on these things. This is their initial line. So these are the toys that they're putting out now. The collector stuff comes out next year. That's what takes over for McFarlane, who will lose the license at the end of this year. So 2027, it's still going to be 6.5 inch scale. Again, I think it would have made more sense to just go 6 inch and match the 112 Marvel Legends stuff. I think collectors would enjoy having stuff all on the same scale, Marvel or DC, but God forbid we do that. So, but at any rate, they're dropping some stuff. There's also a Batmobile that showed up for like about $45. It's kind of silver gray, which is kind of weird for a Batmobile, but at any rate, those are popping up now. They're going to be at Target. They're going to be at Walmart. They will actually be on the shelves as well. The pre-order thing is just sort of a little pre-order thing. They might start shipping those in another 1 or 2 weeks, and then the things will be out. So if you're interested, or if you've got kids who want to play with some action figures that are designed for kids, check them out. They look pretty decent. You know, I showed them off last stream. You can go back and look at that one if you want to see some pictures of what some of them look like. But you got Joker, Flash, Batman. There's Jokerized Batman, I guess, is one of them. There's a few. There's a Superman's in there, of course, as well. So I took a quick look at the Flash because I had a link in X, and it was already sold out. Otherwise, I would have grabbed it so we could just kind of show it off on the stream. But I might see if I can grab one at some point. So those are coming out right now. They're out there. You can go look. They might be sold out. I don't know, and they do have some like 2-packs and stuff too, with characters. Boss Fight Studios has a new one up for order at Big Bad Toy Store, a 2-pack of Conan and Yag Kosha, the elephant-headed space god dude from Tower of the Elephant. These are 1/12 scale, 6 inches, so they will scale with your Marvel figures if you need them to. Very cool looking, but $130 for the 2-pack, so not cheap. They are scheduled for delivery in the first quarter of 2027, but definitely good looking figures. Boss Fight Studios does nice stuff. They really do. And so at least quality wise, I think you're okay. But, you know, I think you kind of probably need to be a Conan collector for that one. Oh, I got that. No, I didn't buy Conan, but I did buy one of those Masters of the Universe style ones Frazetta's doing of John Carter of Mars. Looking forward to when that one gets out there. Why don't Marvel do... well, Marvel doesn't have the license anymore for Conan. I'm trying to think. Is it Dynamite? Has the comic license. But it's nice, though, that they're in the same scale. You know, if you need to recreate. Now, we don't have the Pimp Conan that they did in a What If yet. But I don't know. Maybe you could make your own little white suit that you could put on Conan the Barbarian, and you could recreate that particular What If storyline. But this is out now. Big Bad Toy Store. You can check it out. And live on Kickstarter, Punchline and the Vaudevillians versus Violante. Written by Ted Sikora, art by Yvel Guichet. 48 pages, plus you get a print by Jeff Isherwood. Shipment plan for August. Now, what is this? Fabrizio Aiello, I follow on Twitter, creator of Horace H. Hoover, sorry, good Lord, had mentioned that he enjoyed these, so I checked them out. These are done by some good folks. Jim Salicrup is involved. Here's the pitch. Drayton Hayes was a heavyweight boxer who was kidnapped by the Vaudevillains and transformed into a superpowered, murderous clown called Punchline. The scientist who conducted his transformation learned DNA enhancement from a session in Mexico with a mystic healer named Violante. Fletcher, that scientist, wanted those discoveries for himself alone and murdered the healer. Now, Violante, the undead, has come back with seething vengeance for the comic book brawl of the year. This is part of a whole comic book universe, but they say, look, you don't need to buy all the other stuff to understand this series, so I might check it out. It looks kind of cool. The art looks pretty good. Weird stuff. There's a whole bunch of other ones. I might try to catch up on some of those digital, because obviously buying the old physical, it can be tricky. But you might want to check that one out. It is on, what did I say, Kickstarter? Yeah, Kickstarter. Punchline and the Vaudevillains versus Violante. I think I said Villians. It's Villains. Punchline and the Vaudevillains versus Violante. Might want to check that one out. Looks kind of cool. It does look like Obnoxio the Clown. Oh my God, you're right. Because I do have the other covers there. He does look like Obnoxio. I have not thought about that character in a freaking long time. Oh, wow. Was that, was it the Marvel takeoff of Mad? There was Mad, there was Crack, there was Crazy. Was Crazy the Marvel one? I think Crazy was the Marvel one. I think Obnoxio the Clown was in that one. Dude, good call, man. I have not thought about that dude for a long time. Holy crap. Okay, that's all I really had for coming attractions. Masters of the Universe movie coming out on Friday. So if you're into that, you might want to check that one out. Okay, yeah, it was. All right, cool. So I got one other thing to show off, a vintage toy. And this is what I wanted to check out for a while. When I was checking out the Super 7 Micronauts line, one of the first ones they put out was Biotron. And I was not mega knowledgeable about Micronauts. I had a couple vehicles when I was a kid. None of the figures. But I was getting into it. And somebody mentioned, oh yeah, the original Biotron is huge. He was huge. They could ride inside. That's why he has the little tracks, the little treads on his back. Because I was saying, it's kind of interesting that he has those. I'm not sure what point they would. Well, there was a point. So I'm floating around on eBay. What do I happen to find but a Biotron in pretty darn good shape and at a pretty darn good price? And I couldn't quite resist. So, yes, Biotron is rather large. Now, everything's there. Well, just about. I think maybe some hand changeouts might not be there. I'm not sure exactly how they did that. The arms are a little loose. Now, obviously, Micronauts were designed to come apart. That was kind of the point. You could take them apart, put them back together in interesting ways. So the arms are a little bit loose. That's why I got to be careful with them. We got the head. We got the front of the deal, which does... Oh, shit. In fact, there goes an arm. God, it didn't turn off my stream, did it? Thank God for that. Oh, there we go. I think you got to move that. No, I think that opens up. I got to play with it more. I have got to play with this more, obviously. Maybe there's a button that has to be pushed. I'll check that out. But anyways, here we go. Let's put the arm back on. But yeah, I'm already trying to figure out, is there something I can do to get the arms to stay on a little better? But this is just going to be for display. Oh my. We're going to leave the arms off at this point. They do want to come off. But here we go. We got the treads on the back, which is actually like rubber and does actually move. So you could put them down, and you notice there's wheels here as well. So you could have them rolling along. And again, I'm positive you can get that opened. Wait. Oh, okay, there it goes. It does come right off. All right. So there we go. There's that come up. I was trying to open it like on a hinge. So there we go. So you could sit a dude, and I did grab... I'll put him sort of there. I did grab a couple of the new Super 7 Micronauts. They're a little bit bigger scale, but I thought we could maybe, I don't know, put one. Yeah, you could see where, you could sort of see how they would fit in. Again, the Super 7 ones are a little bit larger, so the other ones would fit a little better. But you could see where they could lie in there. You put the little thing over the top of them, and they could, I believe that was for healing and stuff like that for them. They could regenerate. Yeah, the arms are now on the floor. So we'll keep the arms off. But Biotron, very cool. Very happy to get it. There's a little bit of schmutz on the back here. I might be able to clean that. I will make an effort at cleaning them up a little bit. I don't want to go too far, though, because I don't want to destroy any of the decals that are still on it. Oh, yeah, we even got the decals on the feet. So that's kind of why I grabbed it. I'm like, well, the parts are all there. The decals are there. I think I'm going to grab this one. And I'm super glad I did. This is going to look great in display with all the other little Micronaut stuff that I got going on. So very happy to get that one. Sometimes you get lucky. Again, if the trick on eBay, as I've said a few times, is you set up the automatic searches on eBay. And when you do that, you get an email basically every day. Here's everything on that search term. So you find new stuff, and sometimes they repeat, but it's a really good way, especially if there's something in particular you want, to sort of look for the ones that pop in at a low price. And if you're quick, you can get in there and snag it and save a lot of money. Because honestly, if these things were selling for like $200, I'm not buying one. It's fine. God bless Biotron, but I'm not going to do that. This one came in at a low price and clicked on it expecting, well, it's missing parts. Well, it's broken. Well, it's this and that. Okay, now, like I said, the arms are loose, but they're not broken necessarily. I just need to maybe figure out if there's something I can do that would get him on there a little more securely. But again, he's sitting on a shelf, so it's going to be fine either way. Yeah, and I don't know, man, if they have the rights on that stuff or not, Ramey, to make the comic book characters. I was hoping some of those were going to get in there too, and it looks like maybe not. But they are still producing, so who knows? Maybe we'll get lucky, but I don't know if Marvel owns those. I don't know if somebody else owns those, Mego, or whoever bought out Mego stuff, but there's a new Mego. I don't know if new Mego owns all the old Mego stuff or not. I think maybe it does. Anyway, the other thing I want to show off, birthday present from my daughter. 5 neat guys. If you know your SCTV, this is a sketch that we love. And it is a t-shirt that I did not know or suspect ever friggin' existed. I don't know who made it. But over here. There we go. John Candy's our favorite one. They did a great job on the art. So if you're an SCTV fan, you probably know this one. My wife got me a t-shirt that is even, for people our age, even more of a deep dive into stuff. It's a character I only know about because of Finn's the Spook, and it's a character from the Sanrio line. I'll wear that in the next stream, and we'll talk about it. So there we go, folks. This just about does it for Dad's Den today. But one other thing, I wanted to show off. Oh, there was another cover there. I wanted to show off my favorite thing I saw on the internet this week. This was an image posted by Daryl Epp on X. William Shatner with his dirt bike, motorcycle, and bow and arrow, being the manliest that you could ever probably be. And I thought that's just great. And so I went ahead and said, Grok, can you colorize this for me? Sometimes Grok takes some liberties, but I think it did a pretty good job. And I specifically said it was William Shatner, so I don't think it messed with what he looked like. But you can see it's a pretty damn grainy photo to begin with. And I think it came out pretty good colorized. Did they mess with the hills it did. It added hills in the background. I just noticed that. It will do that. If you're doing colorization, you've got to be careful with it, but I don't care. It just makes it look more Captain Kirk-like out there in the desert, hunting with a bow and arrow. Maybe the Gorn are causing trouble again. I don't know. But I loved it. I thought it was really cool. I think the original photo, we'll freeze on that one. I think the original photo was probably around Star Trek time because the tagline was about William Shatner's hobbies or motorcycling and archery, and he, insisted on doing his own stunts in Star Trek. So I think it is from the Star Trek period, or maybe just after it. But I have been doing another deep dive. I've been doing a lot of deep dives lately. I like diving when it involves pop culture and not having to, risk getting stung by a stingray. On men's magazines, there's a bunch of issues of a men's magazine called True on the Internet Archive. And I initially grabbed a couple and started looking through them because I wanted to, for a little project, I wanted to find old, liquor ads. I'm not sure if it's Kawasaki. Ramey, I'm not positive. Let's look at the other one because it has I don't think it is. I think it might be something else. All right, here's something stupid, but I'll do it. Because I can technically increase that size of that thing. There we go. We'll just have him take up half the screen here. So let's see. Oh, Yamaha. I think it's Yamaha. I think it's a Yamaha bike. Look at that. Hide behind William Shatner. So let's just keep it giant size for the rest of this. Why not? Any rate, so I've been going through this True Man. I was like, I want to find like old ads from men's magazines, manly stuff, and I'm starting to post them on Twitter daily as a moment of manliness. But I've been going through these books, so some of them are from like the late 40s through the early 70s. And my initial plan, I'm just going to roll through it, save the ads, and post them. I think that'll be fun. Whoops, because it's such a different world of manliness from the old days versus whatever the hell we're doing now. But some of the articles look really freaking interesting. And I'm going, the manliness of that period was not just, the manliness we get now is actually, it's boys, not men. It's boys acting wild, acting stupid. Manliness was more mature. Manliness is maturity, honestly. And that's what was on display there. And that meant people reading. It meant there was a literary side to manliness back there. There were authors who wrote manly fiction and nonfiction in magazines and stuff. It's like the whole concept of, I read Playboy for the articles. Well, it's kind of a joke, but you could actually read Playboy for the articles once upon a time. Some really good writing in Playboy. I mean, really interesting stuff. And that's what you get with True. You don't get any nudes, but you do get something similar to that. Those kind of articles, also articles on fishing and hunting, football shows up here and there. There's a big article they have for the 20th anniversary of the Battle of Iwo Jima. And you're going, okay, that meant basically the people who'd fought in that battle who had survived were in their 40s at that point in time, right around there. So, kind of millennial men today, the millennial men of that day, so to speak, were, war veterans. And it sort of breaks down the whole battle and the order of battle. And I'm like, oh. So I've saved a bunch of these things. Oh, I have seen some police gazettes, yeah. But I saved a bunch because I'm like, I actually want to go back and read the articles in these things. I didn't want to just grab the imagery, but I did grab a lot of imagery. So if you follow me on Twitter at 7:00 Pacific time, you will find a moment of manliness. It's a lot of old liquor ads, smoking ads, stuff like that, and a few of the articles, few of the images from the articles as well, popping up in there. And I've looked at a couple other magazines as well that I could find, but it's a really different world, and it's one that is not so bad. Obviously, there are always issues in any time period with people doing bad things. We know that, but mature adult manhood, I think we're not getting as much of that as we really need these days. Just a lot of boys who want to be loud and kind of obnoxious. Oh, collect hot rod. Yeah. I've been going through Internet Archive a lot, just looking at old magazines for other ideas. But that, folks, will do it for Dad's Den this Sunday. Coming up this week, on Monday, we're going to be looking at Thor number 357, which I need to record the video today. On Wednesday, I believe, I'm doing my video on the Golden Age Catwoman and the sort of story arc that is involved with that character, which other Golden Age villains didn't really get. She's probably the most interesting Batman villain of that time period, in all honesty. And nobody comes close. So we're going to be doing that. It's 9 different Catwoman stories from the Golden Age that kind of plot what they did with that character. It's a fun one to research and put together. I think I'll put that on Wednesday. I was going to be doing a video review of Dr. Goldfoot and the Bikini Machine. I didn't have time to prep it. If I somehow find time this week to finish up the prep, maybe I'll make a video midweek. If I do, I'll put that on Wednesday. That's usually when I do movie, TV type reviews. And I'll move Catwoman to Friday when I usually do the other stuff. We'll see. We'll see. Ramey, thanks for stopping by, dude. I really appreciate it. And thank you, everybody who stopped in on the chat, including Once Was Cool. I don't know if I ever was cool, but I always had a lot of fun. So that was good enough. And Man of War was in there for a little bit at the beginning. Always love to see him. And, of course, Lady Wendelin keeping things moving for me on the back end of the podcast. Is this a podcast? I don't know what the hell it's called. I don't give a shit either, if I'm honest. Too many damn words, too many slang. I don't have time for all this. I just call them videos. At any rate. But thanks everybody. Thanks everybody who tuned in, who wasn't in the chat. I do appreciate all the views. And for the folks who come in later on, that's awesome too. So hope everybody has an awesome week ahead. Be kind to one another. Do something cool. Do something fun. It's a wonderful friggin' world. It has its problems, but there's a lot of beautiful stuff out there. Go find it, man. Go find it. Don't focus too much on the negative, man. It will just drag you down. There's going to be some negative. You can't get away from it. We've had some negative stuff this week in my family, and it's going to happen. You can't get away from all that stuff, but try to find the good stuff too. Don't get focused on the bad stuff. Find the good stuff. Don't worry so much if you don't like what they're doing with Star Wars. Okay. But maybe go watch Obsession or one of these other movies or watch the old stuff and get in touch with the good stuff. Get in touch with the good stuff. That's what William Shatner would do. And that's why he's lived so long. Because William Shatner accentuates the positive. Shirtless on a motorcycle with a bow and arrow. Let's not forget that. Okay, guys. I will finally stop the stream now, as I am now rambling on and on and on. But God bless everybody, and I hope to see you again, hopefully soon, in Dad's Den of Pop Culture. Bye-bye, everybody.